In this show, you're going to hear the phrase commitment over emotion. And isn't that what this show is all about? Purpose under pressure. Are you going to stick with it? Or are you going to give in to what you're afraid of, give in to the way you feel? You see, you just can't give in. You got to stick to it. It happens in marriage. It happens in business. And we're going to talk about that next. Welcoming back Darlene and Samir Rashed of Crefco Mortgage next. Well, the heat is on. Let's get cooking. Welcome to Purpose Under Pressure. This is a podcast about people, business folk, just like you and me on purpose. We've got a why. We get up every morning. We pull our feet out of bed, put them on the floor, and get after it. And yet something always tries to knock us down. Now, what do we do when that happens? Do we take a shortcut? Do we give up? Do we fight on? That's the purpose. And that's what it's all about. So how are you doing with your purpose? We're going to find out how some previous guests are doing under new pressure, and we're going to do that in just a little bit. If you're back for this show, thank you for returning. Thank you for all the subscribes and all the likes and sharing this with other people. That's how we're growing, and we are growing, and it's just fun to be a part of this and have you along the way. If you haven't subscribed yet or liked or followed or told a friend, please do. It does help us get the word out, and it's how people find out. There's so many podcasts out there, so many podcasts. But getting one or two more people to listen to this one, I think makes a difference. So thank you for your help in accomplishing that. Purpose Under Pressure is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group, have been for all 7 seasons now. I'm so thrilled for their partnership, serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron, Columbus, Ohio locations, also in Jacksonville, Florida. The thing I love about Sandler by the Ruby Group, it's sales training, it's business growth, but it's on purpose. It's why when I needed a partner for this show, I went to them. I went specifically to them. I didn't say, hey, this is available to anybody. I said, Mike, I want you guys to be a part of this. And they believe in what we're doing here on this show because it's the way they handle business as well. If you're trying to create more revenue, create more business, create more relationships, do more with your business, but you want to do it right. See, that's where Sandler by the Ruby Group really stands out. So I encourage you to reach out to them, check them out online at therubygroup.sandler.com. You'll be glad that you did. I mentioned we're in season 7, and we are, and there's a lot of history here. So if you go back to our YouTube channel on the Bryan Media Strategies website, Spotify, wherever you listen to your shows, you're going to find 90 or so episodes of the Purpose Under Pressure show. I do 13 shows every season. We're in season 7. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of purpose. And it's a whole lot of fun. And all those episodes are back there. And you can go back and meet some old friends and really kind of rekindle some motivation that you might have experienced at the time. But I want to take you back specifically to episode 13 of season 2. That goes back to July 11th, 2023. And what was so awesome about that show is I was talking to 2 business people, and we started talking about life, and we started talking about marriage, and we started talking about the struggles that those 2 things, when they're done together, 3 things, everything, marriage, business, family, the whole thing, what that means. And it opened my eyes up to a lot of things that I hadn't always thought about. Work-life balance was always work's over here and life's over here, and never the 2 shall meet. And that's not true. And so I wanted to check back in with my good friends, Darlene and Samir Rashed. They're co-owners of Crefco Financial Group in Shaker Heights, just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. One of my favorite episodes, and I'm really glad that I'm talking with 2 of my favorite people again here on Purpose Under Pressure. Welcome, Darlene and Samir.
Hey,
Thank
Bryan.
you. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
having us.
us back. Yes.
You guys remember that show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really eye-opening. I remember just being in the flow, almost forgetting to turn the thing off because we were just talking about things that matter to people, not just business people, not just married people, but people in general, relationships, and how do you move forward, and how do you take care of each other while you're taking care of yourself. And we talked about all those things. And I'm interested in the last couple of years. How has it been going? You guys are still looking great and together. So
Thank
we've
you.
accomplished that.
Thank you, Bryan.
What's happening, guys? Tell me something good.
Yeah. We've evolved. I'll say that. I believe that we're better than ever. The past 2 years have not only been, a point of really showing your resilience in business, but also showing your resilience as a married couple in business together. Especially with today's market. We're in an inflationary environment right now. And the past 2 years have been really, really stressful. So, thinking about all of that, our balance at home, I believe all of this has really made us be in better flow together. And I still like him, so that always helps.
Ditto. But yeah, I think we enjoy doing difficult things. And I would say this would be one of the most difficult things that we did to marry everything together, right? So our life is, this business, our marriage is everything. So I think the marriage and mortgage part, it helps you with a internal checklist. So, oh, am I talking about work too much? Check. Maybe I need to stop doing that more. Am I paying more attention to my wife outside of mortgage? Check. Because now there's nowhere to hide. So, any of your inconsistencies or weaknesses, they're going to show up. And then if you're a self-aware person like both of us are, you're going to be self-aware. You're going to make those corrections to make either side better. Either it's work or, the marriage part. So I love that.
So, how does it work then? And I'm really interested in this because business is very fluid. You mentioned the last couple of years. It's been really, really hard and things have
Sure.
changed. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that's changed for you guys and how the mortgage industry and I mean, rates have skyrocketed and it's hard to buy and all the different things that have made it different for your business. But the wedding rings are still on the finger. Like
Yes.
that, you can't change that much when it comes to marriage. That's kind
True.
of permanent,
Hmm.
and yet you have to be able to change in a business. And so how does a married couple doing business together manage the change that happens at work without putting too much stress on what happens at home, because work's got to work.
Yeah.
You can't let it go. How's that work?
I'm I'm gonna let Darlene answer that one because she's a master at, the balancing
Good.
act.
Good.
Yeah, but I actually don't have a good answer. I just know that we're very intentional. We're intentional with our thought process about when it comes to work and when it comes to home life. We both love business. We both love to do good work. We both are leaders. We're both strong minded people. We both love our marriage and we have the same values. We're not the same people, but we have the same goals in life. We always talk about those things. And I'm definitely a talker. If there's something that I'm feeling, I'm always going to share. And Samir is so good about putting things together to say, you know what, I'm going to try to fix that. And I'm really good too about, I think I've gotten better at this, and he can tell you if I have, that, it's just like when you're at work, if someone's giving you feedback, are you going to make the adjustments to try and improve? And if he tells me something, hey, I'm trying to improve as well, because there is such a fine line of work life balance, right? But work is always on. We're
Yeah.
business people. You got to be always on.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of how do we compartmentalize it, and how do we manage it throughout our days. Now, I'm not as strict as I used to be, where I did tell you that I created these bylaws. We have stuck to that. We've stuck to that, which has been really good. Dinner time for Samir. I'll say that again. That's the most important, and it is such a struggle for me because the grandkids always want to FaceTime during that time. He's like, well, they're going to be there. You can FaceTime with them afterwards. And
Yeah.
but I'm doing better at that. He's really good in the morning time. So we have our moments. Even though we get up in the morning, we check our emails and we communicate out, but we still have our morning time together. And we know what that means before we actually ship off to work, to the office.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been good. And again, it's been intentional.
Yeah,
Samir,
but
does that give you a something to drive business, knowing that you have that kind of support behind you that you can make tough decisions or changes, or you can, it's got to be easier knowing that you start with that foundation.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't change it, for anything in the world. And to answer your question, without a doubt, yes, that definitely helps. But um, I think we equate a lot of what we do to raising children. So there's some tough moments, with your children, especially when they hit those teenage ages. So what do you do? Do you throw in the towel with them? Do you, give up on them? You can't. There's
Hmm.
no giving up, on your children. So it's the same here. So we don't let mishaps in business or some things that we disagree with affect, the mortgage. We work together. We work as a team, and it seems like the harder things get, the better we become because we need that stress. We need those hard things, just like with our kids. It wasn't all rosy throughout, their 34-year, time frame living. They weren't living with us for 34 years, but that time from
They
a
never
year
really
old
leave, do
to
they?
exactly.
Right.
But yeah, but you don't give up, on them. And I think if changing that thought process, really helps us. It gets difficult, but because of some of those experiences that we had with our children, I believe they helped us, get better because they are
Yeah.
a challenge for sure. Back in the day, yes.
Yeah, I know. And we were talking before the show. The grandkids bring a whole different
Yes.
perspective to that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, and I think that's kind of what purpose under pressure is about. I think when it gets hard, it gets easy. When it gets hard, it gets easy to take a shortcut. Like
Yeah.
when you're not on purpose, when you're not fighting for something that really, really matters, maybe you say, "Hey, look, kids, just go play video games. I'm tired of dealing with you."
Exactly.
But if your purpose is, I'm gonna I'm gonna do my best to
Yeah.
raise these young people to be who they should be or need to be or meant to be. You can't just send them aside or take a back seat. I'm interested in the business a little bit as far as purpose goes because things have changed so much. And we talk about marriage. So when you meet and you fall in love and everything's rosy, like on The Bachelor, right? The rest of the world is going to be wonderful.
Sure.
Everything's
Yeah.
champagne and roses and everything's great.
Yes.
You do so with a vision, and then you're locked in, and
Hmm.
you either make that vision come true or there's problems and you figure it out.
Mhm.
In business though, business changes. What's different about the business today than when you got in, because you started this business on purpose and yet the business world's changed.
Yes.
What were you trying to do that you really, really loved, and what's changed that's caused pressure, and how are you maintaining that same purpose? Is that a fair question?
Fair.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
very fair question. What's changed is, and I'm just going to take us back to even prior to me getting into the business, when Samir got into the business years ahead of me, um, the economy was probably in maybe a similar state. This is
That's true.
prior to 2008.
Yeah, it
Rates
cycles,
were,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
rates were much higher then. And I always tell Samir, this is kind of bad. He doesn't like it, that because he's been in the business that long, I feel like I've been there too. He's like, but you haven't.
It's
But
fair.
I'm like, I have. I've been there right there. But I know that I haven't been boots on the ground with him since that very beginning. But I've been a part of that experience. And he was resilient then, but he was new in the business during that time. He didn't know any different. So that environment was kind of normal to him. And he became very successful in it. And what's interesting, as this evolution happened over the years, over the course of 27 years of him being in business in general, doing this type of business, it's evolved a couple of times. And I never see him waver, ever. He's so good at just staying on an even playing field. He just gets it. He can smell the environment, and he's like 10 steps ahead.
Mm.
And even when I'm thinking something, he is like coming forward to say exactly what I'm thinking. And I'm like, you know what? Let me say it first, but he's so good at that. And I think that's the reason why we're in business today. And what's good about it is really Samir. honestly. Not just because he's
Ah,
my
thank you.
husband, but he is one of the
Some
smartest
goosebumps a
people
little
that
bit.
I know. And not just because he's an avid reader, he's on top of everything, and I love that about him and how we've been able to kind of stay in this business and be seamless in this business. It's hard because it is an evolution and it has its ups and downs. And man, think about rates, being
Mm,
high, going
mhm,
down. And then during the pandemic and after the pandemic, right at that pandemic point, the lowest we've ever seen. And that's knock on wood, not going to come back because we don't want to see another pandemic again. But, are things starting to normalize a little bit? It feels like that because I've seen it over the years, over the course of 27 years. But it is still different, though. It's different. Think about food prices.
mhm,
I mean, we can talk about this. Samir talks about eggs all day. He
mhm.
loves eggs and they're so expensive.
They're almost a
Uh,
dollar a piece pretty soon.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes. And so now, I know we're going to talk about kind of the good and the bad, but here's where we have to really step into more of our education. So we're at this inflationary point, and
Mhm,
people want more education. They want to understand, well, if I'm buying this home, and I'm getting financing. What does this mean for me? What does it mean for my future? Am I just doing something just because rents are high, or what value does it add to me?
mm,
Is this really going to help me with my future? A lot of people talk about wealth management. They also talk about building wealth in the future for their families, and also saving some money. Can I save a
mhm,
little more money if I'm buying versus renting? And now we have all of these different little things that are coming at us. We talked about this earlier, right? Insurance
mhm,
increasing,
mhm,
property taxes increasing because home values have gone up, which is a really good thing.
mhm,
So it's more about educating the why. It's no more about, when is it a good time to buy, just simply because, when do you think you can afford it?
mm,
It's more about here are some of the things that are happening with the economy, with the environment, with real estate, and here's why you should buy. And then we're educating them on those subtle details to help them understand, the purpose of real estate and how this is going to help you in the long run. Samir talks about it all the time, being fearful. This is the time where, if you want a piece of this pie, you may have to get into the game, whether it be real estate investments or whatever the case may be,
yeah.
because other people are still moving while some people are standing still. And it could be valuable to you to be able to invest in yourself, during these times.
Yeah,
Samir, is that one of the ways you've been able to kind of merge the marriage and the business together? Is that uh, I mean, because Darlene, that's not is that devil's advocate. That's not your job.
yeah,
Your job is to get the best interest rate and get somebody a mortgage and move on to the next one, right? Devil's
Hmm.
advocate.
yeah,
Hmm.
You've switched, haven't you, Samir? Things have changed, and you've changed with it.
yeah. That's true, and I think it's definitely a compliment to Darlene too, because she can relieve a lot of that stress. So if I would come home, I'm in duck mode. I'm on the river, nice and smooth, but I'm paddling. She didn't get a chance to see that. But now, since she's here, I can I can try and be as smooth as possible because I know that my wife is here,
Mm,
the love of my life. She has my back. We're partners, all that good stuff. So that definitely helps. Um, but to answer your question, I think the inflation really helped us a lot just because I think we always want to be boots on the ground. And people may think just because we're in business or because you're in business that we have, all the answers. I mean, we're consumers just like everybody else. I buy stuff, I read reviews, all of those things. So, but the inflation hit hard because I'm saying, hey, all of my dollars have to be spent well. And why am I,
mhm,
doing this? So I want more education. So if we want that, then we know that our customers and the consumer wants that. So it's like a trickle down effect. We get what we learn, and then we can feel your pain as well. We mesh that together, and then we come out with a fantastic product that was really tailored, to you. So yes, I do agree with a lot of what Darlene said, and I think anything that happens in the economy, it definitely makes us take a pause and say, hmm, how can we incorporate that into our business? Or
Hmm.
if we have a bad customer service experience, we'll say, man, I didn't really feel right. What about Sally Sue when this happened? Could we have done that better? So we take a lot from what we get on the outside and we bring
Hmm.
it, in the inside because, we're just like everybody else, Brian.
And so that's what I love about talking with you guys, because you've taken what you've learned as a successfully thriving, loving married couple and brought it with empathy into your
Sure.
business to help your customers. You've
Yes.
taken what you've learned and you're helping them to also kind of take advantage of that experience. What has this tough, challenging business uh, environment? How has it improved your marriage? And I'm saying
Mm.
improved because I'm assuming it's improved. But how is it?
Mhm.
How have you been able to learn from some of the business challenges and tumultuous times to make things even stronger at home? Samir, do you have some thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I would say that you really understand what's important. Some of the things that, you hear the stories and we talk to so many people, we get to see so many credit reports, bank statements, and we can see some people that are really, struggling. Some of the things that are in business, it's business stuff. It's nothing that's going to make or break you. So it really helps you stay centered and even keel to understand what's important. Because if we're not, on a level playing field, how can we be our best with consumers when they're contacting us and they're looking for us for that leadership? Because I'm taking the biggest step in my life and I'm getting ready to buy a home. I'm scared. I'm emotional. I'm excited. I don't know if I'm making the right decision. So if we're not in balance, we can't lead the way that we want to. So um, I would say without a doubt that that's one thing that has really helped, our marriage, and that's just learning from other people. They show us
Hmm.
what's important and what's not important.
Interesting. What can you share with single people? So if I'm a married couple, I'm listening, going, man, yeah, I've got that right, and but I've got that to learn. What can you because there's a lot of first time buyers, there's a lot of
Sure.
investment buyers, and things that are kind of maybe they're not married yet, they're building their career and things. What can you share with them that helps them stay on the right path?
Looking at the typical salesperson, everything they do day in and day out, if we simplify all of that and really boil it down, they have two superpowers. First superpower that salespeople have is how they behave. Second superpower they have is what they say. As a seller, we only have two problems. We either said something or did something that we should not have said or done, or we didn't say something or do something that we should have said or done.
Maybe they're not married yet, they're building their career and things. What can you share with them that helps them stay on the right path?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting question because we do get a lot of singles,
Hmm.
people who
I
are
bet.
coming forward to buy homes and they're buying
We're
them by
getting married
themselves,
later nowadays, and we're having
Hmm.
kids later,
getting
and
married
things like that.
later.
It's still a family,
Yeah.
but not always two.
Yeah, what I think we're experiencing right now is a lot of people who are coming to us and they're buying homes on their own. They're actually pretty happy with doing that right now, which is
Hmm.
interesting. Back in the day, I saw more, couples coming together to buy homes, but now they're being leaders and individuals, and what we're sharing is more consultation. How to focus on you, getting you together, getting your finances together. We're doing a lot more consultation than we have in the past. We definitely educate people on buying a home, but we do a lot more consultation, around, what it takes to buy a home, what it takes to build your credit, sustain your credit, what type of credit you should be thinking about, and I use my own experience when in our young marriage, or early on in our marriage, having that JC Penney credit card and thinking that those are the right things to have and go off and just spend. And get a furniture card and finance your furniture. I thought those things were good. And
Right.
no, those things are not necessarily good.
Not always.
Nor is the big $20,000 or $50,000 credit card. Low limit credit cards are the way. One of the things that we often share with people, especially young people, and what we've learned in our marriage is, you're using your credit to play the game of life, building your credit score, not as an extension of your money. And I think a lot of people are listening to those types of messages that we've experienced as young people in our marriage. I don't know if I ever shared with you, but I had credit. Samir didn't have credit. I was the one who was the JC Penney and, let me go charge this. Oh, my sister was in college. She needs something. Let me go and buy her that.
Hmm.
I was the one who, I'm going to finance our furniture and all these different things. And we were young and building our life together. And then Samir not having any credit. And he's like, I don't need any credit. And and it was interesting because this really helped us grow as a married couple. And so our experiences, we've been able to really help younger people who are in our shoes back in the day
Hmm.
understand the purpose of why you need credit, and here's why it's a good reason. But even still, just so you know, there's older people in the same bucket. So it's not just younger singles,
That's right.
it's older singles as well who are thriving to have this information. They want it. So
Yeah.
add to that, Samir. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
you've got
think
something.
I agree with a lot of what you said, but for that single person, our data shows that if you're making about 50 grand, there's a struggle there, right? Because I think the to get a decent house in Ohio, you're going to be at about 200K and up.
Yeah. So 50
Um,
grand isn't enough anymore. I'm an
no,
old guy where that seems like a lot, but that's not.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Hmm.
Brian, that 50,000, that was ideal, 4 years ago.
Oh man.
But
Yeah.
yeah, things
Even
have
four
changed.
years ago. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 4 years ago. So now, some of the things that we're encouraging, single folks, we're talking to them about their goals for now and, for the future. So the good thing about us, we see so much, so we can really advise. So here's an example.
Hmm.
Okay, Sally, you make 50,000 and you want to buy your first home. What do you want to spend per month? Okay, I want to spend X. I know Samir or Darlene, that's not going to be my forever home because we're doing more digging. And maybe you have dreams of, getting married. Maybe you have a fiance or something. And now we're telling them, hey, our data shows that for a family of 1 to 4, you're going to need about 85,000 in order for you to make that step up purchase. And it's like, oh, okay, Samir and Darlene, how would they know? They don't know
Hmm.
what we know.
No
This is what
idea.
we do every day. So we have an obligation to make sure we're sharing that information, not only preparing you for today, but for the future based on what, your goals are. So I think a lot of those things, are real helpful, especially for the first time home buyer. Because when we bought our home many, many years ago, and we shared that on our last episode, it really was confusing. I didn't
Yeah.
like, okay, just get a house and can I afford 2 grand? Okay, I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
So that really helps us, in our daily activities too, just the past and some of the present stuff in the future. I think that helps us help the first time home buyer make a,
That
a good
experience.
educated decision. Yep.
So let's talk about something that none of us know about, which is the future. And one of the things I like to ask folks about is what's next. I'll lead the conversation here a little bit. I talked to my son. My son is a financial planner, and I said recently, "Hey, how do you know what to do with your account? With my money when
Mm,
no one knows what the people at the top are doing?" And this is not a
yeah,
political show, but I think it's obvious that there's a lot of change going on, regardless of whether you like it or not. That's not what this is about. And
sure.
there's a lot of misunderstanding, misinformation. No one really knows. And the
Yeah,
stock market jumps and the stock market falls, and we all feel a little bit odd because of all the change. And I know that that can make me want to stop. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait. But I don't know whether that's the right thing to do. And so I'm wondering if all this turmoil is that making things hard for you, or and what are you doing if, and if not, what is, but what's the future bring? If inflation's here to stay, which I think it is, what's the next issue that people are having to figure out so that they can afford and have the kind of home and married life that we're trying everybody to
Um,
have?
you, you know what, Brian? It's a great question. Um,
Hmm.
we had a few months ago, we had a gentleman that contacted us and said, "Hey, I'm hearing everything about the market. I don't want to buy a house. I don't know what the heck is going on." So
Yeah, no
what
one
we
knows.
did, yeah, no one knows. So we said,
Hmm.
okay, so you've been at your job for 5 years. Do you contribute to your 401k? Yes. So everything that's happened in the stock market recently, and I think the stock market was just like a roller coaster at that
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
So did you talk to your HR people and did you remove your funds from your 401k? And also, did you stop contributing? And his answer was, well, no. Okay. So
What
same
was done
philosophy.
was done. Hmm.
Exactly. So, and we have all these
Interesting.
talks with these young folks too. So your goal may be you want to have a kid, right? We don't know if your kid is going to come out with a disease or
We don't know
cancer.
anything.
So what are
Yeah.
you going to do? I'm still going to have that kid.
Wow.
So your
Wow.
commitment
Wow.
has to be greater than your emotion. So you may be the first person in your household that's going to buy a house, and I want to leave this to my kid or my kids or my grandkids if you're lucky to, be in that position. So we take that human approach to educate you for now and in the future. And we give you a lot of things to think about because, like you said, Brian, there is a lot of unknown. We don't know what the tariffs are going to do. They could
Mhm.
be good, they could
No
be
idea.
bad, but hey, we continue on because our commitment is much greater than our emotion. So nothing stops us.
Hmm.
So the things that we learn, we can just share that with everybody. And like you're doing, you sit back and say, hmm, I kind of like things that make me sit back and say, that's a different perspective. So I believe that that's helped us and it shows in our data and all that stuff. So I think our commitment to doing that type of stuff is really what keeps us going because we don't know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Right, right.
I
That
love that.
unknown has kept us strong and resilient. But we're also, like I said, we're educating ourselves. We are finding that lenders are being a lot stricter too. So there's a lot of things to stay on top of so that we can understand how to navigate, how to advise our clients, and how to, build the best plan for them, as they're preparing to buy, and how to make sure that, hey, if you're scared, here are some of the things that we know, and here are some of the things that we don't know.
That's
But,
right.
we all know that this is an evolution. What comes up must come down. What
Hmm.
goes up goes down. And it's a merry-go-round. So,
And it always
we
has
try
been
to,
and always will
it
be.
always
Yep.
has been and
Good
it
advice.
always will
Hmm.
be. So what we try to do is, we've talked about, hey, every, every year we're planning for the next 3 to 5 years. So we'll put a plan together. Although there may be some changes along the way, we always do that. But as we're planning for the next 3 to 5 years, we know that here's some of the things that we're focused on right now, and here's some of the things that we do want to do in the future, and here's how it's going to help the business or how it's going to help clients. And what we found with clients is it's never a one size fits all. The types of clients that we get in, they come in all shapes and sizes and mindsets, and we have to individualize and humanize, and even with AI, Brian, I'll just tell you that artificial intelligence. There's so much talk about how will this business in general navigate
Hmm.
outside of that. Oh, it's going to navigate very well. I mean,
Hmm.
today we use AI tools, but we're also seeing that even amidst of using those AI tools, people want greater understanding. So that human
That's the key.
experience is not going to go away.
You know,
So
knowing what
yeah,
to
so that's
ask
key.
is
Knowing
almost as
what to
important as
ask.
knowing the answer nowadays. Is knowing what to
Absolutely.
seeking the information. So a couple of things that I just heard: planning for the future. I heard commitment over enthusiasm, and isn't that marriage too? And we get into
True.
their commitments and we want to break them because I don't feel in love anymore, or
Right.
whatever the
Right.
thing that happens over 16 or 20 or 30 years or more
Hmm.
of marriage. And I'm interested, as we wrap up. I knew this show would go long because I think I could talk to you guys for 5 hours, but
Same.
I'm interested in this kind of final question. Your brand as a company, there's a lot of talk about personal brand. When I see you on social media and I engage with your company a little bit from this side of the computer screen,
Okay.
I see a marriage of both. I see we're here, we're a family, we're happy. I also see the mortgage. I see some of the mortgage marriage minute things that you're doing online. Is that on purpose to help the business? Is that on purpose to promote the personal brand, or is it just the way you are? And what do you hope to accomplish
Mm.
by kind of bringing the two together the way you do?
Such a great question. I think that sharing a lot of what we've learned over the years, I think that's really why you go into business. Is you go into business and you want to give away stuff. You want to give away information, and if we're blessed to reap some of the benefits from that, then hey, that's just an extra bonus. But we lived a long time. I don't want to say our age because Darlene might hit me on my arm or something,
No.
but being around for a long period of time is refreshing to, have a purpose. And if you do, and if you're lucky enough to have a purpose at some point, you want to give away, all of that information. So that really keeps us going. It really kicks me out of the bed in the morning, and I really can't wait to, get to work and do some postings and all that stuff because it's really not for anything. We're not social media influencers, but if we help one person, per day that saw this podcast or saw something that we posted, then guess what? Our day
That's it.
was great. We were fulfilled, and hopefully they
Yeah.
were too.
Yeah. Yeah. Every post is based on a daily experience. Every piece of content that you see that we communicate is based on really what happened, or some customer brought a question to us and then we addressed it right away. And that's exactly how we do it. And then we happen to be a married couple who hopefully it just feels that we're bringing that type of energy and love into the business, and that people like seeing that. So a lot of times, what people may not see is I might be running to Samir. Oh, here's what just happened. Do a video real quick, and then I'm holding up my phone and I'm videotaping him, and he's like, okay, yeah, let's do this one. Or someone just DM'd, and then he's like, hey, I'm gonna do this video. Oh, you should do this one. What about what just happened? So there's so much information to share, and we get it just from our surroundings and everyone around us, and it's because of them that we're in business today. So we can't thank our clients, our followers enough. I mean, they are helping us every day and we enjoy helping them.
How will somebody follow you or get in touch with you or contact you if they want to learn more about the business or even about the people? I encourage them to. I'm gonna wrap up in a second here with a couple of notes about you guys that I want you to hear, and I want the listeners to stick around and hear too. But first, can you give your contact information so they can reach out and talk to you themselves?
Yes, please feel free to contact us on all social media channels at CFG Ohio. And you can reach us online at cfgohio.com. And we're happy to help anytime.
So here's the thing, folks. I've been in marketing for, gosh, since I was 20 years old. That's a long time. That's 38, almost 40 years. That means I don't trust anything anymore. I, everything's got an angle, everything's got fine print, everything's
Sure,
got
sure.
some reason that is designed to
Yeah,
take more of money out of my pocket into yours, and it's just the way I've learned to see the world, and it's kind of sad, but I'm
Mm.
always looking for the what's behind the curtain.
right.
And I think that's just through experience. Now I don't run my business that way, and I don't help people do it that way, but I'm looking for it, right? And I
Yeah,
just want you both to know, and anyone listening to know, Darlene and Samir, I can't poke a hole into you guys. I can't, there is no curtain I can get behind. I've known you guys for a long time,
thank
and
you.
you're the real deal. You're bulletproof. And when I try to say, are they just trying to, are they only trying to, are they saying this? No, you guys are the real deal. You say things on purpose. You treat each other with kindness. You treat each other with love. And I know for a fact that you treat your customers the same way, and that you care as much about their success as you care about each other's success. No more, no less.
Thank you,
Brian,
Bryan.
And
thank
if you're
you.
listening right now, folks, and you just soak that in for a little bit, because that's rare. It's rare. It may not even be. I look up to these two because that's the way you want to be.
Thank
And
you,
Oh,
Bryan.
thank
so,
you.
good for you guys, and good for all your customers, and all the good that you're doing, and the great life you've built as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. We appreciate it. You're putting us on a pedestal, though, but
Someone's got to be on it. Someone's
Thank
got
you,
to
you
be.
know,
Bryan.
you might have to
That's the
be that
thing.
fly on the wall in our home.
Nah,
But
we've
thank
all
you
got our
so much.
stuff. We've all got our stuff. There's pedestals falling all over the place. I think your guys' is rock solid, and I think that's pretty cool.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for
Appreciate
We
that,
sharing
Bryan.
that, and
appreciate
for
it.
a brief glimpse into behind the scenes at what makes Crefco great, and what makes the Rasheeds amazing. So we do appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you,
Love your
Bryan. Thank you
show.
for
We
having us on your
appreciate
platform
you.
too.
Yeah, you guys too. Thank you very much. That's Darlene and Samir Rashed, and I am just thrilled to know them, and thrilled that they are again a guest on Purpose Under Pressure. I encourage you to go back to episode 13 of season 2, way back in 2023, about 2 years ago, and take a look at and listen to that show as well, because it was eye opening, and just as informative, and it'll make you fall in love with them and life all over again. And I think that's pretty cool. So they are my guest on Purpose Under Pressure. Thank you very much to Darlene and Samir Rashed of Crefco Financial Group. This show is brought to you by Sandler, by the Ruby Group. Sellers Under Pressure to Perform. Sandler helps you to succeed on purpose. I thank you as well for being partners in our show. You'll find all past episodes and their episode as well. Go back and look for it. It's on Purpose Under Pressure at bryanmediastrategies.com/podcast. Make it easy. Wherever you stream your shows, that's where you find it. We'll do this every week, and we will see you again next time on Purpose.